Hi friends, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel, Sunset Bow Tarot. I think much like a lot of people, I have been spending some of this time uh, staying at home doing the social distancing thing by doing some cleaning and sort of making decisions about certain items that I want to keep or get rid of. And of course, that impulse also found its way into my tarot collection. So I'm going to be doing another bit of a deck declutter video today. So these are all decks that I am planning to let go from my collection. They are all decks that are going to be for sale. So I will list them with the prices down below in the description box, and I will also be posting them in a couple of days after I post this on some of the buy sell groups on Facebook. But I'm kind of making a bit of a deeper cut in my collection. I think the last time I did one of these declutter videos was maybe only about a month ago, and I said at that point that I was cutting a little bit deeper in terms of what I was letting go of. And this time I really am cutting quite a bit deeper in terms of what I'm letting go of. There are some decks in this list that are decks that I have used and enjoyed. There's a couple of decks that are very nostalgic for me, but that I don't use anymore. And there are a couple of decks where I love the artwork so much, but as decks, they don't actually work out very well for me. So I don't want to keep them around just for the artwork. So we're going to take a look at all of these. And again, like I said, all of these are going to be available for sale. So hit me up. I'll put my email down below if you are interested in purchasing any of these decks. So the first deck I'm going to be letting go of is this deck, which is the Orions Tarot deck by Amba Sun. This was a relatively recent Kickstarter, and it was one of those decks that was basically just a mistake. Like, I backed it on Kickstarter, and then I was like, no, actually, I don't want this one. And I retracted my my pledge, and then I decided I did want it and pledged again. And I don't know, it was one of those things where it was like, okay, if you're going that back and forth on itself, like, you should just not buy it. But then I forgot to retract my pledge the second time, so I ended up getting it, and I've looked at it. It's incredibly beautiful, but I don't plan to keep it. So it comes in a nice magnetic box. It's an all animal based deck. I have only looked through it once. I haven't shuffled it. I haven't done anything, but it's a gorgeous high quality deck. It has this beautiful holographic silver edging. I hope that the rainbow is coming through on the camera, but it's amazingly beautiful. The artwork is just gorgeous. Again, it is an all animal based deck, and I really think it's lovely, but you know, it's just not for me, and I don't use animal based decks all that much. And so this one just did not need to join my collection in the first place. So I am going to be letting go of it, even though I find the artwork to be absolutely stunning. So that is the Orions Tarot. Again, I'm not entirely clear on how to pronounce it, but it is very lovely. And it does also come with the spread cloth that came with it as part of the campaign. I haven't even opened this up yet. It's still just in the plastic bag that it came in. So all of that will be going together. So another animal-based or nature-based tarot deck that I am going to be letting go of is the Tarot of the North Atlantic. Now, this one, I got to tell you, is a real kind of wrench for me to let go of, because I love the artwork of this deck so very much. So anyway, so this is an independent deck. It's by an artist. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name now. What is her name? I can't remember her name. Anyway, I'll put it in the description box. But anyway, this one is out of print. It does come with a little guidebook. I will say that the guidebook, the way it originally came, is a little bit too big to actually fit in the box. So I like trimmed off, I don't know, like a millimeter maybe around all the edges of the guidebook to make it fit in the box. But obviously no print is lost. It's exactly the same, so it's still fine. But so anyway, this deck is so beautiful. I absolutely adore the artwork of this deck. She does all textile art, and so it's amazingly beautiful. Just as an FYI too, I did put all of the decks that I have used back in order just to make sure that I wasn't missing cards or anything. So all of these decks are in order. I did that last night, and it took freaking forever. But anyway, so she does this textile art, and it's so well photographed. Like, she has all of these additional objects that she incorporates into the art, and it almost looks 3D, the way that these beads and stones and everything are incorporated into the art. And I mean, it's just so beautiful. It does have a bit of a pippish feel to the minors. The quartz are all animals. But I do like in the minors the way that the pips are arranged, because it does tend to suggest in certain ways the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning of the cards. So like this is the 10 of shells or the 10 of cups. So we have bones as wands, cups or shells as cups, feathers as swords, and then stones as pentacles. So it's just, I adore the artwork of this deck. As far as artwork goes, it's one of my favorite decks. I just don't read with it at all. And so I decided that it was time to let it go. This one is out of print. It's hard to find. The creator has, because I don't think very many of these were created in the first place, the creator has hinted at maybe doing a second edition, but I'm not entirely sure whether or not she is actually going to do one. But so right now this one is out of print. So another deck that I'm going to be letting go of is the Botanical Deck. This is by Jessica Bott, B-O-T-T, which is why it's spelled Botanical. This was a Kickstarter. And this deck is amazing. And again, I love the artwork of it. So this one did come with a spread cloth. So the spread cloth will be included, you know, when I let this one go. And it is very, very beautiful, kind of satiny spread cloth. And it also came with an extra print of one of the mushroom cards. And then it does come with a nice guidebook. And so this deck is all botanical based, as the name would suggest. And it's really, really beautiful. She is the same artist who did like the Amethyst Oracle and the Idiosynchro deck. And so she has this sort of vector graphic style of artwork, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I really, really love this deck. I have never, ever used it. Like, I think it's wonderful. But I have never used it. And part of the reason is I don't work I work a little bit with botanical types of stuff, but it's not like one of the biggest things I work with. And kind of what happened is I had this deck and I had plans to work with it this spring. And then I had ordered a replacement card from US Games. So I had to order this replacement card for one of my decks. And when they sent me the replacement card, they sent a bookmark that had art on it from the Herb Crafters Tarot, which is another botanical deck that's a mass market deck. And I fell so in love with that artwork from the Herb Crafters Tarot. I should keep going through these cards here. That I got the Herb Crafters, and that's the one that I'm actually planning on working with this spring when it starts getting nice out here in Minnesota and I start having time to think about plants again. But so this deck also is gigantic. So it does have a full tarot deck. So spices are wands, flowers are cups, cacti are swords, and then crops are pentacles. But then it also has additional suits that can be used as like an oracle deck. So there's well over 100 cards in this deck. It's gigantic. And so there's additional cards that are like poisons, herbs, mushrooms, and carnivorous, I think is the last one. So it's a giant deck. It has a ton of stuff going on. It's like a combination oracle / tarot deck, and it's really, really beautiful, really high quality. And I have just never used it, and I have decided that there's a different botanical deck that I want to work with instead. So that's where I am with the Botanical Deck, and I am going to be letting this one go. So another sort of plant-based tarot deck that I am going to be letting go of is the Tarot of Trees by Dana O'Driscoll. This is another deck that I think right now is out of print. I don't think that this deck is currently available. Normally she sells it on her Etsy store, but I don't think that there are any right now. So this, again, I have worked with this deck. I love it. I think it's wonderful, but I haven't been reaching for it. And it's just, again, one of those where I don't love it so much that I want to hang on to it in my collection. But so this deck, it's named the Tarot of Trees, and it is very aptly named because this entire deck is all depictions of trees. Every card is depicted by trees, but it's very, again, Rider-Waite-Smith in terms of the way that it depicts things. Like here, this 5 of Cups, you can see it's like a Rider-Waite-Smith 5 of Cups with a tree in place of a person, really. But it's got this like really sweet, brightly colored, just gorgeous artwork. Each suit has a different season to it. So like you can see here, the swords are kind of like fall, the pentacles are winter, and then the cups are spring. I mean, it's really, really gorgeous. So it's just a really fun deck. It's a sweet little small size, like it's a really kind of like playing card size deck. And it's really lovely. And again, you know, this is out of print, and I know it's pretty sought after right now and can be kind of hard to find. And it's just one of those where I've used it, I like it, but it's just not one that I love so much that I want to hang on to it. And it does come, there is a nice book, and I do have the book that will go along with it, and it's a very beautiful, you know, full color illustrated, nicely done book that goes with this. So, and it's in, the whole thing's in great condition. So that is the Tarot of Trees. So just to continue on the run of indie decks that I am going to be letting go of, I am finally going to be letting go of the Shadowlight Tarot and the Wanderlight Tarot. These are by Waking Canvas, which is the sort of company name of a creator named Eric Techie. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. I'm probably getting that totally wrong. But this is a deck that I backed on Kickstarter over a year ago at this point. I have used this deck. I do like this deck. I did put it all back in order, just like everything else. It comes in a nice box, a nice magnetic box. And it comes with a little guidebook. There is a tiny little bit of wear on the edge of my guidebook that I will just point out that is there just a little bit. The cards are in great shape and they're very beautiful. They come with a sort of sparkly silver gilding on the edges. It's a kind of sparkly silver gilding where it's sparkly, but the sparkle like doesn't come off on your hands, which is quite nice. And this deck is amazing. This is another deck where I adore the artwork so much. I think it's incredible. It's just one that while I have used it sometimes, it's not one that I reach for super, super often. And it just felt like it was time to finally say goodbye to it. I mean, I think I even showed this in a video recently and said, you know, this deck goes on and off my to let go of list, like on a very frequent basis. And I think it's just finally gotten to the point where it's time to say goodbye to it. But the artwork of this is so incredible. It also has panoramic suits. So if you lay out all of the cards next to each other in a suit, it forms a panorama. So it is very, very cool. And yeah, it's beautiful. And the artwork is amazing. It comes with some extra cards as well. So in the back here, you'll notice that there are some elemental cards. So there's a Tree of Life card, there's fire, water, air, and earth. And then it also comes with these additional cards that were part of a Kickstarter backer package where a backer could have a card made based on a particular archetype of their choice. So we have the practitioner, we have the artist, we have the reader, which I love. It shows this woman who's a tarot reader, which is so great. Wild, which shows a bunch of cats, and astrologer. So it's a really, really cool deck. I love the artwork of it. I think it's amazing, but I just don't reach for it enough to justify keeping it around. So I think it's finally time for me to let go of this one. Now, when you got that deck on the Kickstarter, it also came with a bag, which I will include with the Wanderlight Tarot, because the bag really only fits the Wanderlight Tarot, but it's kind of long and thin. It's weird. I don't entirely get the bag, but anyway. So the Wanderlight Tarot is like a smaller version. It's a very tiny, like you can see, it's just kind of like palm size. It's a very, very tiny little deck. And it's like the travel version of the Shadowlight. So as you can see, the cards are the same artwork, just kind of simplified down to, you know, be on a smaller card. So it's really, really cute. I think the artwork is awesome. It's a very simple take on the, you know, on the same artwork. They have the exact same backs and everything. It's just teeny tiny. It's so cute. The other thing that's cool about the Wanderlight is that it has the elemental cards. Let me get to the back here. It has the elemental cards, and then it also has astrological cards. So there's, you know, cards for various different planets, and then we get into the Tree of Life and then the elemental cards. So it's actually quite a chunky little deck because it has a lot of extra cards to it. And it's just a really, really sweet little black and white travel deck with really, really cool artwork. So I like this one. I've used this one as well. Again, you know, like I've put all these back in order, but most of these are decks that I have actually used. So just something to be aware of. But it's a very, very sweet little deck, and I like it a lot. So that one is also going to be going along with the bag. So another deck that I'm going to be letting go of, and I need to make clear like what I'm actually letting go of here. So this is the 3rd edition of the Darkness of Light Tarot. I also have a 2nd edition of the Darkness of Light, and I am keeping that one. I love the Darkness of Light. I read with it frequently, and I wouldn't let go of it. But this is, I had also bought a 3rd edition because the 2 editions were quite different, and I wanted to compare them to each other. So it is signed by the creators, whose name is Tony DeMoro. And like I said, this is the 2nd edition. So it comes with a bag, and the tuck box that it fits in. And then there's a little sort of informational sheet here. And the 3rd edition of this deck is really gorgeous, but it's quite different because rather than having black tops and bottoms on the borders, they're white. So it gives the whole deck an entirely different feel. Personally, I'm hanging on to the one that's black because I prefer the black backs and the black borders, but this 3rd edition is also very beautiful. This one I have not actually used because I always use my 2nd edition. And like I said, I had just kind of gotten this one as a comparison. This is another deck that is out of print, and he sells seconds of his decks. So I do want to make clear that this is not one of the seconds. This is you know, an actual like a perfect edition that he sold. I didn't buy it as one of the like damaged copies that he does sometimes buy. So anyway, so this is another very lovely deck. Let me just switch through here, and there is a kind of cool color palette. Like you can see that there's a lot of pink in the wands. There's a lot of blue in the cups, like light blue. There's some sort of dark blue or purple in the swords. And then there's this sort of brown undertone to the pentacles. So it's a very beautiful deck. Again, this one I believe is out of print. I don't know if he's planning to do another edition of this deck or not. But again, this is the 3rd edition with the white borders and white backs. And I am letting go of this one, but I am not for a second even considering letting go of my 2nd edition because I love this deck. It's a great reader. Even though it's dark, it doesn't have like a dark personality. It has a very sort of neutral personality, and it's a really, really good reader. And you know, it's a popular deck, and I understand why, because it is a really great reader with a very sort of neutral voice, and comes in a nice bag with the wolf backing logo on the bag. So I think that's all my indie tarot decks that I'm going to be letting go of. So let's take a look at some of the mass market decks that I'm going to be letting go of. I am going to be saying goodbye to the Spirit Within Tarot. Again, this is a deck that I really like. I have read with it, and I've enjoyed it. Again, I did put it back in order because I did do that with all the decks, but I have used this one just, you know, excuse me, but I think it's still in very good condition. So this is a deck by Stephen Bright. And I mean, if you watch his videos and stuff, he is really awesome. And this is, again, a really, really awesome deck. I have used it. I have enjoyed it. I really like how it reads. I really like the artwork. Again, it's just one that I haven't been reaching for as much recently, so I've decided that it's time to let it go. But here we've got the majors. You can see that it's all this, again, sort of vector artwork. There's these black silhouettes against these sort of brightly colored backgrounds. I love this Hermit card. It's so awesome. And then let's get into some of the minors. The wands kind of all have this orange background. The cups all have blue. The swords all have yellow, and the pentacles all have green. So it looks really nice in a spread. It's really easy to sort of immediately tell the suit. And it's really, really cool artwork. It's a very sort of, another very kind of neutral feeling deck. I kind of feel like it has a bit of a masculine feel. So it's a deck that I think would probably read really well for men. And it's really cool. There are certain cards, like I love this Hierophant card. I mean, some of the cards, here, I got to show you the Strength card too, because I love the Strength card. Look at how awesome that is. So it's just a really, really cool deck. But again, I just don't reach for it enough to justify keeping it in my collection. So I'm hoping to pass it on to someone else who can really, really enjoy it and get as much good use out of it as I did. Put it in the box here. And the little guidebook is also really nice because each card has this little sort of like I statement about, like, from the perspective of the card, which is kind of cool. So it is very cool. There is a tiny little bit of like shelfware on the box here, just so you know. Aside from that, it's in pretty much perfect condition. I'm going to be also letting go of the Universal Waite in a tin. Another really nice little deck, another deck that I have used. It's a really great little travel deck, but I just prefer my Centennial edition as far as a pocket version of the Rider-Waite Smith. So I am much more likely to carry that around. I also have a pocket Pam's Vintage. So those are really my preferred kind of small size Rider-Waite Smith travel decks. So I really don't use this universal weight as much. It's a very beautiful edition of the deck. You can see that the coloring of it is really pretty. This is a version, the Universal Rider-Waite Smith is a version that was recolored. It has Pixie's line art, but it was recolored by Mary Hanson Roberts, who is the same person who did the Hanson Roberts Tarot. And you can see that her coloring is very soft. It's very shaded. She uses colored pencils, I think. She used colored pencils to do this. And it really is a very beautiful edition of the deck. So it's a nice little pocket version of the Rider-Waite Smith, just like any Rider-Waite Smith, but just with pretty colors and in a nice little tin. So it's a great one. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I have other pocket size Rider-Waite Smith decks that I read with more often. So I am also going to be letting go of the Goddess Tarot by Kris Waldherr along with the book. Now, one thing I will say is that this deck has been around in the world, this deck and book, for a pretty long time. Yeah, copyright 1999. I bought this deck for my mom, I want to say, back in like 2003 or something, but she never used it. And then like just a couple years back, she gave it back to me and was like, I've never used this tarot deck. Do you want it? But so it's been kicking around the world for a while. So just so you know, like the box is a little bit beat up and it is an older copy of the deck. So here are the title cards. I have trimmed this deck. So if you've ever seen the original version of it, there's these big white borders around both the fronts and the backs. So I trimmed all the white off. And quite frankly, I think I did a freaking amazing job trimming this deck. I'm a good trimmer, if I do say so myself. And so it is very even. And I edged the deck in this sort of like parchment color, which is quite pretty, I think. But so this is a really beautiful deck. All of the majors are different goddesses. The artwork is gorgeous that Kris Waldherr did for this deck. It's really beautiful. And then the minors are just completely Rider-Waite Smith. And again, there's differences in the borders from suit to suit. So you can see like the wands have this sort of hot, like kind of deserty scene, and there's water in the cups. And then there's this sort of pretty, again, a little bit deserty sort of tropical scene for the swords, and then beautiful flowers for the pentacles. So it's a gorgeous deck. I love the backings on it. I think that the artwork is absolutely beautiful. And again, it's just one that I don't use very much, and so I'm ready to let it go. And again, do keep in mind that this one has been modified, but if I do say so myself, I did a pretty dang good job of modifying this deck. So anyway, so that is the Goddess Tarot by Kris Waldherr. This is a US Games deck, and I will be letting it go along with the book. The book is normally purchased separately, but it's a good little book. Again, it has been kicking around the world for a while, but it's still in like really, really good condition. So that is the Goddess Tarot. So another deck that I am going to be letting go of is another deck by Kris Waldherr, which is the Lover's Path Tarot. This is the like large deluxe kit, which I don't actually think they sell anymore. I think that they sell this in a smaller kit with a smaller book now. So this one is a big box with Velcro holding it shut. I did purchase this used as well. So the box does have some shelfware. So just something to be aware of, but the book is in very good shape, and you can see it's a nice big glossy full color really pretty book. It comes inside with this little spread scroll, which I don't even know if I've ever unrolled this. I don't think I have. And then here is the deck, and you know, you can see this is like a really nice box. It's got this nice little pretty decorated insert for the deck, and then the deck comes in its own tuck box. This deck is basically based on stories of famous lovers. So you can see, for example, in the majors, like magic or the magician as Merlin and Vivian, Isis and Osiris, Dido and Aeneas, Lanhauser and Elizabeth, I don't know who they are, Dionysus and Ariadne. So it's, again, it's like sort of like the Goddess Tarot, but in this case, each of the majors is about a particular couple, and there's a particular story in the book to explain, you know, their connection to that particular major. And then each of the suits has a full story told through the course of the suits of one particular like famous love story. And then you can see that the courts are all, again, individual characters from that story. So it's a really, really cool deck. I think it's really beautiful. The artwork is gorgeous. You know, I think it's really stunning. You can see here we have, again, Tristan and Isolde are the Cups story. And then the arrows, I think, is Eros and Psyche. It's, I mean, it's like a really cool deck, and I feel like for love readings or something, it would be a really, really cool deck to use. It's just, it's never really quite resonated with me, but I think it's awesome. Like, I think that the artwork is beautiful. I think that the idea of it is really, really cool. And again, I'm pretty sure that they don't sell this like large kit edition anymore. I think you can get this deck in like a larger packaging edition, but it doesn't have the big book, I believe. But anyway, so that's the Lover's Path Tarot. Again, this is another deck by Kris Waldherr, same person who created the Goddess Tarot. Another really beautiful, interesting deck with a cool concept to it. It comes in this really beautiful large box, and yeah, it's a really nice set. So another mass market deck I'm going to be letting go of is the Arthurian Tarot by Kathleen Matthews. This is a pretty classic deck. It's been around for a long time. I really just bought this because I had bought Legend, the Arthurian Tarot, which is by Anne Marie Ferguson, and I was curious about how this one compared, and it wasn't very expensive, so I just ordered a copy to check it out. It comes with a really, really thick book. There's like an entire sort of study course contained in this book for understanding these cards. I think it used to be called like the Hallow Quest Tarot or something like that. And then the cards are all, again, Arthurian themed. So this is what they look like, and this is what the backs look like. And they're really, really pretty. Again, I prefer the other Arthurian Tarot that I have to this one. So, so yeah, but it's a really, really cool deck, and it's kind of a classic deck. I know a lot of people use this one, and it's, you know, it's a big deck for a lot of people. So so yeah, that is the Arthurian Tarot by Kathleen Matthews. So another mass market tarot deck that I am going to be letting go of is the mini version of the Tarot of the Pagan Cats. This is a low Scarabeo mini deck. They're just really cute and small. And this is a very, very cute deck. Again, I have used this one. It's a sweet little deck. But it is still in perfectly good condition. The book's a little bit bent up, but aside from that, everything's in really good condition. I did put it back in order. And this is just a really, really cute little deck. The thing about this deck is that I am actually going to just give this one away because it's $10 to buy this new on Amazon, and there's literally 0 point in me actually shipping just this deck to somebody. So the first person who contacts me to buy another deck and then says that they also want this one, I will throw this one in for free. So that's how this one's going to be leaving my collection. Again, it's just a really cute little deck. It's a lot of fun little cat-based deck. Oh, I especially love the knights in this deck because they're all cats like riding another animal, and I find it really cute. Like, I think it's a goat in the pentacles. Yeah, like it's cats riding a goat in the pentacles. I think it's riding a turtle in the cups and a fox in the wands. So anyway, it's a cute little deck. Like I said, I'm just going to throw this one in with the first person who buys another deck from me and says that they also want this one. Finally, I've had this in one of my other deck declutter videos. It hasn't sold yet. This is the Mass Market Antique Anatomy Tarot. It comes with a really nice guidebook. People have, I think, rightly complained about the cardstock of this deck. It is still perfectly usable. Like, the cardstock is thin, but it's still coated. I think it, you know, it's durable enough that it's still very usable. And this is just another deck where I love, 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 love the artwork of it. It doesn't actually read all that well for me. And I don't know, it's not because it's pippish, because there are other decks that are pip decks that do read fine for me. This one, I don't know, I can't connect with it, even though I really, really love the artwork. So that is the Mass Market Antique Anatomy by Claire Goodchild. All right, so I am also going to be letting go of a few Oracle decks. So let's take a look at the indie Oracle decks first that I'm going to be letting go of. So we'll start with a deck for Wonder Walking. This deck is absolutely freaking gorgeous. It comes in a beautiful box. It's all like that matte rose petal finish. It comes with a little sort of fold out that functions really well as a book, actually. And then the cards themselves are stunning. They're all landscape. You can see that they've got this little very light keyword down at the bottom. Her artwork is this beautiful watercolor artwork. One thing that I think is really cool about this deck is that the fronts of the deck are rose petal finish, but the backs are actually a little bit more slippery finish. So it is actually easier to shuffle, I think, than other decks that are like all rose petal finish, which I think was really smart how they did that. This is another deck where the artwork of this deck is unbelievable. I would hang every single one of these cards on my wall. Like they're so beautiful. It just doesn't honestly like work that well for me as an Oracle deck. So I've decided to let it go, even though I love the artwork so much. It's just so beautiful, and it's a lovely high quality deck. Like everything about the presentation of it is so beautiful, but it just, I don't know, it just doesn't read for me all that well. I know it does read for other people really well, so I don't know. I have a hard time connecting with this one, even though, like I said, I would literally hang every single one of these paintings on my wall because I think they're just stunningly beautiful. So that is a deck for Wonder Walking. Here's another one where the artwork is so beautiful that I would hang it on my wall, but it doesn't read well for me as a deck. And that is the Earthly Souls and Spirits Oracle by Terry Foss. I have the larger, older version of this deck that's out of print now. So she used to print these on like a postcard stock almost. So this is what the backs look like. I did, it normally comes with the corners not rounded, so I actually took a corner rounder to mine and rounded all the corners. And it is not like a completely even deck because that's how it came, because she kind of printed these on like postcard stock and all of the cards are not exactly the same size. This is another one where I would hang this artwork on my walls. I think the artwork is beautiful. It just does not read that well for me as an Oracle deck, and I think it's just absolutely stunning, but it doesn't read well, and so I don't find myself reaching for it. So yeah, so really beautiful deck. And I know that this one a lot of people love. This one is available now as a card size deck on Make Playing Cards, but these older like large postcard size editions I believe are out of print. So so that is the Earthly Souls and Spirits Oracle by Terry Foss. And I will say as well, this deck came with some additional like little art cards and stuff that I will include. And I've been keeping it in this bag, this kind of pretty purple stars bag with beads. So I will include the bag because it doesn't come with a box at all. It comes with a little, here's the title card. It comes with a little fold out with meanings for all the cards. And then there's one additional art card that was included. And I actually turned this one into an additional card for the deck because I thought that it was a really good card. So I literally like wrote my own keyword on it and included it in the deck. Because I normally drew this deck like right out of the bag. I didn't shuffle it, so the fact that that card didn't have a back on it wasn't a problem because I was always drawing right out of the bag. But anyway, so that is the Earthly Souls and Spirits Oracle by Terry Foss. Again, this is the out of print postcard sized version, and it will be coming with the bag and all the additional art cards when I sell it. One last indie Oracle deck. This is the only deck that hasn't sold yet from my last deck declutter video. That is the Empty Cup Oracle by Stasia Burrington. I have never used this deck. It's in great condition, and it's a really cool deck with just really simple artwork and really simple keywords with just kind of everyday objects, but it's a really cool deck. I think it's just really awesome. It's one of those where I bought it because I love the Sastrapido Tarot so much, and then just found myself never using it because I did not need another Oracle deck. All right, guys, so that's it. That is my latest declutter video. Again, decided to cut a little bit more deeply with this one. There are some decks on here that I really, really do love the artwork, but I've decided to make some room in my collection for some other things. I backed some stuff on Kickstarter recently. There are some new decks coming out that I'm really, really excited about, and I decided it was time to let go of a few decks. Even though if I really loved the artwork, these are decks that I just don't reach for and I don't use to do readings enough. So I don't want to keep them around in my collection, and I'm ready to let them go to make room for something new. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Again, all of these decks are going to be available for purchase with the prices listed down below, with the exception, again, of the Tarot of the Pagan Cats, which I will be giving away free to the first person who buys another deck and asks for that one to be included. So anyway, that is my latest declutter. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much. Have a great one. Bye-bye.